everyone. Welcome back to Hear Our Voices. This is your host, Khadijah D. This is a podcast where we tell stories, give resources, and change the narrative of homelessness. Let's get into, some housekeeping. Please follow us on our social media platform. We're growing slowly but surely, and everything happens in due season and in due time. So please follow us on TikTok, Instagram, and right now, that is it. We have threads, but we're not really on it that much. I'm not gonna lie to you. When I hire a person, they could be on those platforms for me. But let's get into that. I'm hiring somebody. Well, the Fab, I should say, Family Action Board is hiring for another position, guys. We've been looking for a person for a while. I think for this person, it takes a lot to do this part. They have to be social media savvy, so reels and shorts and all this stuff, know how to use all the social media platforms, be able to go on that, go out on events with me and hang out with me. Why not be a cool work friend, um and they have to qualify for certain things. So I know this cuts a lot of some people out, and I'm sorry, but if you are housing insecure, homeless, evicted, any of those things, and you were a parent with a child under 21, you qualify. Would love to have you on the team. We have other openings coming up too, but right now I'm talking about narrative change. If you are if you were that child in that relationship, because mother and child is a relationship. I think sometimes we forget. If you're a part of that, the child in this, equation, you also qualify. We would love to have you on a teammate. If not, if you want to share your story, we would love to have you on the podcast. And also anybody who's listening, if you have a resource that can affect families, it might have to be family who's homeless, but just families in general, no matter if they're homeless or not, we want to have that resource. I think a lot of times when I say we want things only for homeless families, any resource you have that can help families can help homeless families. Don't forget that. You are a vital, important part of this ecosystem that happens, and we'd love to have you on. Or if you want to be on, and it's fine. Not everybody got to speak. Not everybody is a chatterbox like I am. So if you want to send in your flyer or your information, I can read it out on a podcast or have it on our Instagram or TikTok page. We would love to share your organization that is doing work out here and helping the people and making sure that the system can run smoothly. Thank you so much. So, guys, I told you to listen to the next podcast. We have Stephanie Woodbine back on, and she's going to tell you, if you don't know, I just want you to her third podcast. And when we first initially talked to her back in, I want to say 20, I want to say 24. Um, she talked about her experience. It probably didn't, it came out in 24, probably not. We recorded it apparently in June, but it probably came out later, depending on how I was doing episodes at the time. We talked about her experience being homeless, and she is a DV survivor. And so I want to hear updates. If you have been on the podcast and you're still listening to the podcast, thank you. We would love to hear updates from you. Whether we're gonna do a written update and I could read it, even though, I would love to have you more as a guest on the show, I'm not gonna lie. But if you want to read something about your updates and how you are, we could probably start doing that too. And I always love good ideas, so pat myself on the back. But also, we'd love to have you on an episode. Why not? Why not tell people where you are now? I think people sometimes forget that homelessness is only a part of your life. It's a stage in your life. It's not forever. And I want people to come back on and use your voice to make sure that people understand that's only a pitfall in your life at the moment. And I don't see a lot of times like myself, it was a learning experience. At the time, it didn't feel like that. I feel like it was a struggle. But I learned so much from that opportunity in my life. And that is an opportunity because I wouldn't have this job if I didn't have that experience. So I try to spin a lot of things in my life as a positive one because even though it wasn't a negative thing that happened to me, a lot of positives have happened to me. I wouldn't be where I am today if it wasn't for that. And you learn so much things when things happen to you. If you're a person who believes that, oh, I should have just a life without any bumps and bruises, you're not gonna know understand how life really is and how you're not gonna learn anything to be able to give it to others. And I believe that we should always be in a position to learn whether it's a good learning experience or a bad learning experience, to be able to give to others, whether it's a person, your family, your friends, a stranger. You never know who's watching you and how they see how you came through all the struggle, so they know that they can make it too. Just be very aware on how you do things. But yes, Stephanie, tell us what's going on with you. What's your update in life and how's homelessness treating you? And also, I don't want to forget, God, I thought about it. What's happening with the Cityfheps? She's a Cityfheps, I believe with Cityfheps, but she also had an EHP doctor. So tell us all your
Yeah.
updates on what's happening and where you are today. And so I know it's a lot of questions. I'm excited as usual, guys, but I want you to understand. how it is on a voucher and how where she is now, being that she was homeless so much years ago. But yes, tune into you, Stephanie.
Thank you for having me. Good afternoon, everybody, and thanks for tuning in to, listen to us speak today. Um, yeah, I was homeless a couple years ago. Honestly, I would say what my experience has taught me is that housing insecurity is very prevalent in society. Um, I've learned that there's so many factors that contribute to homelessness, and it's not an individual flaw, like a personality flaw or a character flaw. There are a lot of systemic issues why people end up homeless.
Right.
Mental health is involved, and there are so many moving parts, and a lot of us are just a paycheck away from being homeless ourselves.
Correct.
Um, Homelessness looks very different, in different cases. Like if you're couch surfing, you're homeless, and that is staying at a friend on a friend's couch, right? If
Right.
you are doubled up with another family, you're homeless. Um, it looks different for if you're on the street, you're homeless.
Right.
And we have a lot of people also who are living in shelters and living in hotels. And um for me, I didn't enter shelter with my daughter at the time. She turned 12 the same month we lost our apartment, when our eviction went through.
Hmm.
And I did have a voucher, and I didn't have Cityfheps. I had EHB. Um, and I didn't find a new home until, well, I had the voucher for a while before I found a home. But I did take the first apartment that I could get. And I don't remember if I had mentioned that this was in Queens and my daughter was in school in Brooklyn. She was in a gifted and talented program. And I didn't want to take her out and put her in anything in Queens. So we did that commute every day, 2 hours, 2.5 hours each way, give or take, um, after relocation. So I started teaching at a preschool. I had a toddler class, so it was a lot of 14-hour days on my feet. Um, and I had broken my foot a few years ago during the time I was homeless. So I also learned then just what a safety factor being housed is. Um, you literally, your physical safety is literally at risk. So my foot did heal, but I had done surgery, so I have metal still in my feet, in my foot. And it was hard having those days. So I saw that I really had to pivot, something had to change where that was concerned. I was getting a little bit older, and I, needed to figure it out. And at the same time, my apartment wasn't completely up to standard. I had issues with my plumbing and my heat, and like February of 2024, I had no heat. And well, I had no heat from December to February. It came back in February. But during that time, I started trying to move. So I got my voucher transferred to the EHV. No, sorry, from EHV to HCV, Housing Choice Voucher.
Mm.
And I did a couple workshops with HBD. And right around the time I was doing that, I started looking for other employment. And the same day I got my new move-in letter, I started my new job as a case manager. So I moved to Brooklyn, and this is where I'm at right now, almost 2 years later.
Mm.
My new landlord is very efficient in terms of any issues I have, as long as I communicate them, he gets someone out quickly to look at it. I did use my voucher in this new apartment, as I said. Um, I was working at New Destiny for about a year, and I was a case manager. As I said, I had DV survivor clients, about 40 clients in their aftercare unit for survivors who have been rehoused after they fled DV. So a lot of my clients were people who were in shelter and got their new homes through New Destiny or with the help of New Destiny. And um, some were in community, some are still living with their abuser, but all were actively trying to get rehoused. So I connected them with resources to keep them stably housed, help some people with recertification packets, had other clients who were in custody court with their former intimate partners, wrote advocacy letters for them to support them in family court. Um, I'm still doing speaking engagements right now. I do the groundwork, still raising my daughter. She is wonderful. She has 5 regents now and is looking to graduate high school early.
Ooh.
So, remaining stably housed has really helped my family thrive. Um, you know, Issues come up here and there because life is always life in, but um, we're good, right? We're taking it one day at a time, and I'm really grateful that I received that voucher when I did. Um, it's really helped me rebuild my life and just to regain some sort of economic stability and um, life stability because I am now going to grad school in the fall for social work.
Congratulations.
I am pursuing a clinical pathway. So, this knack that I have for speaking will
Mhm.
be put to use.
Right.
I'm no longer employed full time. I am transitioning to, self employment. So that's been interesting. And in terms of like recertification and stuff for the voucher, I recently recertified. And so I have a rental portion that went up, but with the voucher program coming to an end in September, no, late summer, the HCV, EHV, funding is supposed to run out. But I will be transitioning to another program called HOME,
TB.
and yeah, TBRA.
Yeah.
So that, is good for 2 years, and you're only allowed to move within the city. But I foresee that I'll be here in this apartment. My landlord did give me a 2-year lease so that, based on our payment history and our relationship. So I'm really proud of that because, being a survivor, you sometimes you're not able to put down roots, even when you're safe. It takes a while for it to really set in. And I've been running a long time. So it's just great to be able to look at this place and be like, I love it here. I'm safe here. I'm at peace here. This is my haven. I'm good at least for another 2 years, while I do grad school. So it's a loose, tentative plan. God is in the details. And
Right.
ultimately, everything that happens is His will, right? So I'm just doing my part because at the same time, faith without works is dead. So, um, yeah, that's like a general update. I hope it's okay. What do you have any questions for me?
Of course, I always got a question. I'm very nosy. That's why I like doing this job. I get to be in your business. So, how was it? Because you said you came from one apartment to the next. How was it transferring? Was it easy to find an apartment? How was that journey for you?
So, because at the time I was still a member of New Destiny Housing's Survivor Voices project, um, I, spoke with a couple people about the situation with the old apartment, like what was going on with the plumbing and things like that. And they connected me. I mean, I know another person, and we kind of panned it out. Um, and I got in touch with HPD through that person, and this was the assistant commissioner at NGBV, Jennifer DeCarly. So she reached out, and I did the whole process. I did workshops. I had to get a certificate that I completed, mobility training, because that's what they call it, because you're moving with your voucher.
Mm,
And I was connected to brokers through New Destiny as well.
hmm.
HPD themselves had a navigator reach out to me who also took me on viewings. Ultimately, I chose an apartment with one of the brokers that New Destiny connected me with.
Okay.
He and my landlord apparently have some sort of relationship, and New Destiny has worked with him in the past to connect voucher holders to apartments. Um, so the whole process, I want to say, I started around April of or March of 2024 because I had the issues with the heat and stuff during the winter.
Right.
Um, and I started looking at apartments, I want to say July, August. So while I was still working and, at the preschool and looking at apartments. Um, and I was grateful because that kind of support, I mean, I had a navigator before from New Destiny, but now I also had a navigator from HBD as well,
Right.
helping me look. And he was really great. He found me a lot of nice places, but a lot of them were on the higher end of my voucher.
Right.
And I was mindful of the fact that my income would go up and then my rent portion would go up.
Right.
And, I didn't want to not be able to manage it because that's another reason people lose their homes and return to homelessness when, the rent portion is too much for them, or the maintenance fees for the apartments that they moved to, because a few of those apartments also had maintenance fees that were separate. So
Right.
I was like, I wasn't looking to kind of put myself in a hole again. Um, but yeah, the process took about 6 months, I want to say, from March, and I moved in October. So April, May, June, July, August, September, October, 7 months. Um, I viewed my apartment early September, and that process was really quick, really quick. It was faster than I ever imagined it would be. It was much faster than my previous move. My previous move, my inspection was rescheduled 4 times.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I viewed the apartment October 2022 and I moved in January 2023. Now that knowing what I know now, it was rescheduled all those times because they were working and not really working on whatever repairs or whatever things they needed to pass inspection. And honestly, I don't know how they passed inspection.
Right.
Maybe I still had those same issues a year later, or but the new apartment is in Brooklyn, I said, and I toured it like early September. I got back word that same day that I was accepted.
Okay.
Yeah. And but it was like a delayed reaction to me. I was okay. And the broker goes, "Well, you don't sound excited." And I'm like, "You know what? I'm taking this with a grain of salt because the first time I was also accepted and then it took, inspection was rescheduled 4 times. Like I'm just, taking this with bated breath and just waiting it out. That was my attitude because I expected it to be a lot more laborious. But my lease came through. I signed it by September 17th, and everything really worked out quickly. HPD, I told the navigator there that I was going with the other apartment. He said okay. He facilitated a move-in check from HPD, which was nice as well. I didn't get that before. Um, the move-in check, it takes a little bit longer, but so I had to pay out of pocket, but I did get reimbursed.
Okay.
So I moved October of 2024. As I said, like the same day I started my new job, I got my move-in letter. So yeah, but yeah, it's been good. Like this is we have more space because we moved from I had a 2-bedroom voucher and I used it on a 1-bedroom initially. I had given my daughter the bedroom and I converted the living room into like a studio area for myself. So this new apartment is like 2.5 bedrooms. It's,
Okay.
there's a half a bathroom with just a shower and a toilet, but it works. You can go to the other one and wash your hands. Remember to do that. It's just two of us in here.
Right.
So she's been my daughter since I've been here. Um, it's like a haven. The winter was crazy. That's the only kind of drawback I have with it. My appliances are all electric. So the winter, January and February, as you know, New York was really cold.
It was.
Um, so the electric bill for those months was higher than it's ever been since I've lived here. But
Yeah.
that's a general direction of where living is these days. Like the cost of living is high, right? And you got to do what you got to do to kind of survive. And I watched the bill for like March, because they read from February 7th, 27th or so, up thereabouts to about March 26th, 27th. And March's bill is half of what February bill is. So I'm like, all right, I did good for March. I proud of myself. But March was hard personally. I My ex had taken me back to court last year. Um, because my daughter, she's almost 16 and she refuses to go on visits. She does not want to really interact with him. And I'm not forcing her. And he apparently filed a violation and an enforcement petition. I was unaware that this was filed for at least 6 months. Got an email from family court in July. There was a whole warrant out for my arrest.
Girl, she's wanted.
Because I didn't know he had filed in court and the court hadn't reached out to me. They didn't send me anything. And the same way how they sent me the warrant in the petition 6, 7 months after it was filed was the same way they should have sent it in January, right? But I was a little bit thrown off by this and more angry and annoyed than anything because I feel like my life, I'm thriving and here comes this guy with his attention seeking behavior. Um but it worked out. It worked out. My daughter went when we had the first podcast, did I take my daughter to Jamaica yet? No. So I got her passport. She hadn't seen my mom in like 12 years. And so that's a great highlight I want to share with you guys. It was delayed but not denied because my ex refused to sign for a passport for years.
Girl.
And we finally got her passport last February, and I was able to take her to see my mom for winter break. So that's great. I wanted to share that with you guys. But fast forward, at the time I took her to Jamaica, I didn't know he had filed in family court.
Mm.
So I guess he was plotting, I guess, I don't know. And we get to July, I go to court. I tell the court my daughter basically doesn't want to go. And, you know, she's older now, right? This is a child that goes to school on her own. I would love them to have a relationship, but people don't change. And unless she has that safety factor, that physical safety, emotional safety, mental safety, she's not going to want to be around you. And it has absolutely nothing to do with me. She goes to school on her own. If she wants to hang out with you after school one day, that's perfectly fine. I just want it communicated. I know where she is. She knows. She tells me where she is. Right.
Right.
She's gonna go see her dad. It's fine.
Guys, thank you for listening thus far on Stephanie's story. I hope you're enjoying what she's giving you. Part two is coming out shortly, and we're trying to do our best to upgrade the value of this podcast. If you love the podcast, please give us a thumbs up or a like or share on our each platform, and follow us on everywhere you can. Please, please, please. And if you need me for any reason, you could definitely get me on Instagram, TikTok. I answer. I look on it sometimes, to be honest. TikTok and just my regular email. They hear our voices. Or if you want to go on my personal page, you can go on the link tree and you can see my personal Instagram right there. So those be the places to see me. Okay, guys. Later.